They're just standing there and talking, okay? That's all they're doing. That's all they ever do is just stand there and talk. That's what they were doing last week. That's what they were doing when you asked me 5 minutes ago. So 5 minutes from now, when you ask me, what are they doing? My answer is going to be, they're still just talking, and they're still just standing there.
Hey, I'm Finn, and this is probably one of the worst videos I could have done. Typically when you're starting out your account, you want to start with these big, broad topics that everyone knows about and will get you clicks and views, like Marvel, Star Wars, Avatar: The Last Airbender, stuff like that really gets people interested. But Red vs. Blue never really grew outside its own fanbase, and Homestuck has all but fallen out of the public favor. It was never really there to begin with, but now it's fading and fading out of existence, luckily. You know, as 2 and the epilogues come out, everyone's kind of moving on to new, different things, probably better things. At this point, the only ones left are the real big fandom members, although there has been a resurgence during quarantine, which scares me. It scares me very much. But I couldn't help myself. I love Red vs. Blue, and I love Homestuck. So I decided to make this video because there is one thing that they really have in common. How much the characters stand around and talk. Just nothing related to the plot. Nothing relating to moving the story forward. Just standing around and talking. That's all they ever do, is just stand there and talk. Now, most film critics or people that know what they're doing will tell you that most dialogue should serve a purpose, and it should overall impact the story or every single small character beat. But I don't think that's true. I'm in the camp that useless dialogue is so much fun. You can really explore characters in such an in-depth way that goes beyond what their other, more important dialogue is served. It's really interesting to me, and I just wanted to talk about that a bit. Now, seasons 1 through 5 of Red vs. Blue were essentially just standing around and talking. You don't really even get any action scenes until season 7 when they get Monty Ohm on the team. So, yeah, they're good at standing around and talking. And some lines of text in Homestuck, they feel almost as stressful as soldiers landing on the beaches of fucking Normandy on D-Day. Look at this. This is all one page. One singular page. Hussy, are you okay? So yeah, needless to say, there's a lot of dialogue. And Red vs. Blue has a running gag about standing around and talking, as was shown in our little intro bit. But also, Homestuck addresses this a few times, just like passing mentions. For example, this one from Homestuck 2, I know there are some examples in regular Homestuck, but I couldn't find them. So first, let's talk about romance. So think about your regular rando action movies, where you have main character 1 and female side character, and they get together on virtue of being main character 1 and female side character. I'm talking Transformers, any Netflix original, most action flicks. They just follow the same formula of good guy wins, so he naturally deserves trophy wife as trophy. It doesn't feel right. It never feels completely satisfying. It feels so empty and shallow. But when you have so much character put on both sides, not just one character and their partner, it really helps emphasize what a healthy relationship is. And beyond that, what a regular relationship is in real life. Because you aren't just you and your partner, you're 2 separate people. Unless you're single. Then you're just alone. I'm sorry. So, for example, Lance from Voltron is extremely dynamic as a character for the first few seasons. However, whenever Allura comes up and it's hinting at their relationship, he becomes this dumbed down puppy of himself. He's not actually Lance at that point. He's romantic side character A. And it just doesn't hit you right. It doesn't seem like that's actually Lance. So that's what a lot of the downfall is in these situations, in which you have 2 characters that suddenly get romantic with each other and can no longer talk about anything except their relationship, or only talk about each other in the context of their relationship. When you have the opportunity of useless dialogue to expand on this and sort of give that dialogue use, I guess, by just having them talk to each other about things aside from their relationship, or having them talk to their friends about their relationship in a way that isn't made to, force character development, it can be really beneficial and make them seem as if they're still two distinct characters. Now, this issue is a complete non-issue in Red vs. Blue because as far as romance go, there's only really one big romantic relationship, and that's Tex and Church, who hardly talk about their relationship, call themselves exes half the time, dating the other half, and the only moments when they actually go in depth about their relation... That's not lie. And the only moments they actually go in depth about their relationship is when they say goodbye. And that hurts. It hurts so bad. Homestuck deals with this issue in a more relevant way to the video topic. One of their relationships, as an example, is Dirk and Jake. When they start dating, none of them become dumbed down anymore. They're still equally full, fulfilling characters. They still have their own arcs that they go through, completely separate from their relationship, but they do have an arc centered around their relationship that doesn't follow the usual relationship tropes. They both acknowledge that they're wrong and causing issues. Dirk acknowledges that he's being a bit too overbearing, controlling, and clingy, and Jake acknowledges that it was the wrong thing to do to completely ghost him and not address their relationship issues. That's really good, because most of the time, shows will depict it as a one-sided issue where one person needs to either stand up for themselves and tell the other person what they're doing is wrong, or one person realizes that they're wrong. Not both ends and both parties understanding that there is a fundamental issue of that relationship that needs to be addressed, like Dirk and Jake did. And moving on from romance, you have making us give a shit about your characters. You can tell me a character is kind and sweet all you want. You can tell me a character is funny, you can tell me a character is important, but I'm not gonna care until I see it happen. There are so many grounded and realistic conversations in Red vs. Blue that make the whole gang just feel so human and alive. Red vs. Blue has the most authentic conversations out of any show I think I've still ever watched. They managed to maintain this level of realism and conversation that I have yet to find anywhere else. Take this clip in which Tucker just got back from abandoning a mission in order to help save the gang.
It feels like every choice I make is the worst.
Oh, holy shit, you're being serious.
Back at the canyon, you told me to try to be better, and ever since then, that's all people keep telling me. Try this, try that. Well, I'm fucking trying, and so far all that happens is I either get people killed or I ruin the mission. I mean, how are you supposed to know if you're making the right call?
Well, you don't. There's never really a right or wrong answer. You just have to stick with what you think is best.
But what if what I think is best totally sucks?
Then you learn from it and you try again.
Oh my god, it's like you people are on a fucking loop.
Tucker, I know you're frustrated, but you have to realize that making mistakes is just part of the deal. Even with everything you've screwed up, look at how far you've made it. You're not the same person you were back in Blood Gulch.
Is it bad that I kinda wish I was?
Yes, you were a terrible excuse for a human being.
Hey!
I'm kidding.
Fuck you, dude! I'm over here spilling my guts and shit, and you're cracking jokes? That's messed up.
Now who's melodramatic?
Man, I should've just left your ass with the feds.
Now, you'll see that he's not being nice and just accepting this. He's not being like, oh, thank you, Wash, that's what I need to know. That's what I needed to hear. Now, we're gonna have some epic music fade in as I learn how to be a leader. No, because that's not consistent with Tucker's character. All of the useless dialogue so far has established that Tucker's a bit of an ass. He's kind of sarcastic, he's got that wit about him, and they're gonna maintain that consistently throughout his character. It's so cool how they managed to take their characters. It's so cool how they managed to make this character development feel so natural through how much talking is done. No character development in that show ever really feels out of place or wrong like it does in a lot of other shows, because it's always clear and consistent with how their dialogue has expanded them as people. Now let's contrast this consistency with a character like Tony Stark, who broke up his team and signed a legal document because he didn't want anyone else to get hurt because of him, who then goes and recruits a 15-year-old to fight superhumans in an airport. Yeah, it's not very consistent. I love Marvel, but it's a really strange move that really seems out of nowhere. We also see character consistency within a lot of the characters of Homestuck. For example, Carcat always presents himself as angry as a sort of facade to protect himself. And this facade never falters. Even when he's giving emotional support to Eridan, he insults him and keeps up this angry persona that he's built up, because that's ultimately his character. And it's really interesting to see how they manage to maintain it. The only time he really drops this guard is when helping Dave, and that's the person closest to him that he cares about more than anyone. I'm Dave Cat Trash. I love them. And other moments like this really help exemplify character attributes without making it the forefront of some sort of arc. For example, John is always open to friendship. John is the nicest character, I'd say. He's always super kind to everyone, and it takes a lot to break that trust. And since you've built up this character consistency, it really hits hard when he doesn't like someone. For example, when he gets upset at Vriska, or when he beats up Caliborn. These moments have so much weight and impact because of all the talking and dialogue that has happened before that establishes this is not a regular character move for him. It's really impactful because of the separation of character consistency. And now let's talk about what you can really do with useless talking. You can make some good fucking jokes. We never would have gotten the best jokes from both of these series without all this standing around and talking. Seriously, the Vietnam matrimonial bit is fucking hilarious to this day. It is one of my favorite moments from any media I've ever consumed. I fucking love it.
Off that muddy bank before Charlie gets the fucking drop!
And of course, Red vs. Blue, being primarily a comedy series, has a lot of moments like these that stem from the amount of talking they do. It's amazing.
Somewhere out there, Church is thinking about how much he misses you, too.
You really think so?
Shut up. Just shut your mouth.
It's all crime.
Shut up.
And then we're
Shut
gonna go
up.
to the fair. Come on. We are gonna
For the love of God. Shut up.
And typically it can be easier to portray comedy through physical and situational humor. Vocal humor is actually pretty difficult to implement in TV shows because you need to make sure a lot of things are right before you can get into it. You need to make sure it's consistent with the characters, it's consistent with the situation, and that the comedy is consistent with their beliefs. It's a lot to manage just to get a single joke that you found funny out. Whereas situational humor, you just kind of need to set up the scene for it. Or physical humor, you just need to have someone get hit a bit too hard. So spoken language, actually pretty hard to make jokes from, despite that being what we consider the primary form of a joke. And it's also important to time the jokes properly, and to not let them undercut really emotional moments. I'm looking at you, The Last Jedi. This set the tone of the movie. This said, I shouldn't give a shit about your movie, Rian Johnson. But speaking of emotional moments, I touched about this briefly with John, but when you have a character violate their typical nature, it gives it a lot more impact, and this impact is greatly heightened when you have a bunch of dialogue that doesn't really need to happen, that just supports this character's attributes. Think about how in Homestuck, Jade being angry always has more impact than Karkat being angry. Because Karkat's always angry, so why would we really care now? But Jade is hardly angry, so when she is, it really hits hard. And this is the same for Church. He manages to do this while being consistent with his character, which is strange because when he has that big yell scene...
Calm down. What's your problem?
You're my problem. You've always been my problem. Each and every one of you is just a problem that I have to deal with on a daily basis.
It really shows us just how angry he truly is and how what he puts on as this false identity is only a fraction of that. So when you set it to such an extreme, it gives the audience a form of emotional whiplash that really works well. And yeah, that's it. I'm really glad you watched. This was a really quick and short video I just wanted to make. So if you enjoyed, like and subscribe, and I'll see you later. Peace out.